Time to trade in your Tesla? That's not my headline. That's the last part of the title of a Cars.com first drive review article recently published for the brand new Rivian R2, and the conclusion? The author called the R2 one of the most compelling electric SUVs I've driven in a long while, and the R2 feels like the first electric SUV that doesn't come with a compromise in any area. Those are bold words aimed directly at the best-selling electric vehicle in the world, the Tesla Model Y. But does the Rivian R2 really have what it takes to convince buyers to trade in their Model Y, for example, for that vehicle? That's something we're going to explore in this video. I'm John, and this is Cleaner Watt. Let's start with a question that a lot of people ask first. What do these vehicles actually cost? Both lineups conveniently break down into 3 core trims, so this is about as clean as a trim-to-trim comparison as you'll ever get. At the top, the pricing is almost identical. Rivian clearly had the Model Y Performance's window sticker taped to the wall when they priced this thing. For the rest of the lineup trim to trim, Tesla offers lower pricing than Rivian. This is where the spec sheet gets real because starting price doesn't really mean anything until you know what's included. Let's go trim by trim and make sure that you stick with me because each brand does have some exclusives the other simply cannot match. First, what they share. Both have minimalist, screen-centric cabins. In front, a 15.4-inch center screen in the Tesla and a 15.6-inch screen in the Rivian. Plus, the Rivian has a smaller digital screen behind the steering wheel that the Model Y does not have. Both get over-the-air software updates, feature vegan interiors, a heated steering wheel, and heated front seats on every trim, and offer optional hands-free driving features across the board. But Rivian's Autonomy Plus cannot yet match Tesla's full self-driving Supervised, which I'll talk more about that later. And here's something surprising for some people. Neither one offers Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Of course, Tesla has never offered either, and Rivian's software is now so well polished and so well integrated that it's really not something that you need. At the base level with the R2 standard, you get a panoramic glass roof, plus a 12-way power driver's seat with lumbar and an 8-way power passenger seat, and a 5-speaker, 2-midwoofer, 525-watt audio system. On the flip side, the Model Y standard has a covered glass roof and a less powerful 7-speaker system with no subwoofer that appears to be around 200 watts. The Model Y also has manual folding mirrors, a manual steering wheel adjustment, and single-pane door glass. At the premium level, it's a genuine slugfest. The Model Y Premium brings a 15-speaker sound system, an 8-inch rear touchscreen, ventilated and heated front seats, heated rear seats, ambient lighting, and acoustic glass on the doors to name a few important features. The R2 Premium answers with a 975-watt 9-speaker system with 2 midwoofers and 2 subwoofers. It also has heated and ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, birch wood accents, matrix LED adaptive headlights, the rear drop glass, and Rivian's signature torch, which is a rechargeable flashlight built into the driver's door. Then there are the exclusives that only Tesla gives you. The optional 7-seat configuration, the rear infotainment screen for the premium and performance models, and of course Tesla's exclusive software suite, which includes Tesla Theater, Tesla Arcade, Sentry Mode, Dog Mode, and built-in dash cam. And HEPA bioweapon defense filtration. That's not an exhaustive list of the features, but that's some of the key highlights. When it comes to Rivian exclusives, only Rivian gives you the drop-down rear window, the potential of harnessing up to 11 kilowatts of potential vehicle-to-home power, and of course the built-in flashlight. But here's the catch no one should gloss over. You can order any Model Y trim today and have it in your driveway within a few weeks or sooner. The R2? Only the Performance Launch Edition is shipping right now. The Premium arrives late this year, the Standard Long Range in early 2027, and the cheapest base R2 won't show up until summer 2027. Now, before I get into a range comparison where, honestly, both companies do score some wins, let me tell you about today's sponsor, and this one is actually perfect for this exact video. What if you didn't have to worry about the price difference between a Tesla and a Rivian because you could have a chance to win one? Well, then listen up, because the sponsor of today's video is FSD Chicago, and they are currently running the 12th annual Tesla raffle, and this year the prize pool includes some of the most sought after electric vehicles on the road. There have been 11 lucky winners from past years, and if you win, you could be number 12, driving off in a brand new top of the line EV. The winner can choose from a Tesla, a Rivian, a Lucid, or any EV up to $80,000, or take $50,000 cash instead. Head to ccraffle.com to get your tickets. Your ticket does two things at once. It gives you a real chance to win an amazing prize, and it helps FSD Chicago keep running over 80 programs that support families in crisis, from food and furniture to job placement and more. Plus, you can supercharge your entry for $10 extra per ticket to add a Tesla wall connector, including installation, to your prize if you win. Only 9,999 tickets will be sold. Once they're gone or the drawing date hits, that's it. Go to ccraffle.com and use promo code CLEANERWATT to get $25 off 2 tickets or $500 off 15. That's ccraffle.com, code CLEANERWATT. I'll make sure that I put that code and that link in the video description as well. Okay, let's move to range. On paper, this is actually closer than you'd expect. Tesla's range king is the Model Y Premium rear-wheel drive with an EPA-rated 357 miles. Rivian's best is the R2 standard long-range rear-wheel drive at 345 miles. But remember, that trim doesn't arrive until early 2027. Where it gets interesting is the all-wheel drive comparison, which is what many buyers really care about. Every all-wheel drive version of the R2, standard long range, premium, and performance, is rated at 330 miles. Tesla's all-wheel drive numbers start at 294 miles for the base trim and move up to 327 for the premium and 306 for the performance. So trim for trim, the R2 actually beats the Model Y in all-wheel drive range, including a meaningful 24-mile win at the performance level. And here's another great way to look at it: cost per mile of range. If you divide the MSRP by the EPA range, you get the cost per mile of range. With that calculation, the base Model Y rear-wheel drive comes in just under $130 per mile of range, whereas the lowest in the entire R2 lineup is just under $145. However, there is one trim where the R2 wins over Tesla. The R2 Performance sits at slightly over $180 as compared to the Model Y Performance at almost $195, which is over a $14 cost per mile of range gap. Other than the Performance model though, in terms of range per dollar, Tesla still owns this category, a direct result of its not only great vehicle efficiency, but also Tesla's manufacturing efficiency. When it comes to a charging comparison, both vehicles here in the USA come natively with an NACS port, which means the R2 has access to Tesla's Supercharger network with no adapter needed. But speed still matters. The Model Y does a 10% to 80% charge in about 24 to 27 minutes depending on the trim. The R2 takes around 29 minutes for each version. Factor in efficiency, and the Model Y rear-wheel drive adds around 9.36 miles per minute of charging versus around 8.33 for the best R2. Over a long road trip, that compounds in Tesla's favor. Beyond charging, there's vehicle to load, which allows you to power your gear off the car's battery. Tesla finally brought vehicle to load to the Model Y with a refreshed performance trim. You just need to plug in the roughly $80 PowerShare outlet adapter into the charge port, and you get a 120 volt, 20 amp output, which is good for about 2.4 kilowatts for tools, camping gear, a coffee maker, and so on. But once again, this is for the performance trim only, and as of yet, there's no official vehicle-to-home capability with the Model Y. That's only with the Cybertruck. Rivian's answer is the field outlet, an adapter that plugs into the R2's NACS port and adds two 120-volt outlets at a similar, roughly 2.4 kilowatt output. However, I'm hoping that this field outlet will work with all R2 models, not just the performance model like Tesla, but I have no official confirmation to really confirm or deny that. With that being said though, the field outlet is not officially available for purchase as of the recording of this video. It's been announced, but Rivian hasn't officially released it. However, it's important to note that the R2 does have a 120 volt outlet inside of the cabin, rated up to 1900 watts, which is something the Model Y does not offer. However, the bigger story is down the road because, from what I can tell, the R2 has a built-in bi-directional onboard charger that is reportedly rated for up to 11 kilowatts of AC output. Rivian's head of software has confirmed the R2 is designed for home backup, but only once Rivian releases a compatible bi-directional home charger, and there's no official timeline for that yet, at least that I can find. Park these two vehicles next to each other, and the R2 is actually almost 3 inches shorter in length, 185.9 inches versus 188.7. But the R2 is about 3 inches taller and rides on a longer 115.6 inch wheelbase. Also, the boxier shape of the R2 pays off inside. Headroom goes to the R2 in the second row, 40.4 inches versus 38.7 for the Model Y Standard and 39.4 for the Model Y Premium. Legroom front and back is super close, but the Model Y technically wins there. But when it comes to a cargo comparison, that's when I did a double take. The total reported cargo volume for the R2, 90.1 cubic feet. That's extremely impressive and easily beats the up to 75.5 cubic feet in the Model Y. That's nearly 15 cubic feet more in a vehicle that's shorter in length. Behind the second row, compared to the 5-seat Model Y, they're basically even, 28.7 versus 29, but fold the seats and the R2 opens up 79.4 cubic feet versus the 71.4 for the Model Y. The R2's front trunk is bigger as well, at 5.1 cubic feet versus 4.1 with the Model Y. The R2 also has a great party trick, a powered rear window that drops down into the liftgate like a classic station wagon. In addition, conveniently with one button, you can drop the 4 side windows and the rear glass at the same time. When it comes to towing, with the tow package, the R2 is rated to tow up to 4,400 pounds, but do note that the actual towing number may vary a little bit based on the exact spec, so make sure that you verify that before you buy, but that max up to 4,400 pounds is quite a bit greater than the Model Y, which maxes out at 3,500 pounds, and with the Model Y, depending on wheels and seating, that max towing capacity can drop to 2,000 pounds or even down to 0 in the 7-seat setup equipped with 20-inch wheels. In most cases, Rivian gets the clear win here. What about performance? Straight line quickness is Tesla's home turf, and it mostly stays that way. Performance versus performance. 3.3 seconds to 60 for the Model Y, 3.6 for the R2. Both extremely quick, but Tesla quicker. The middle is a dead heat at 4.6 seconds each. In the rear-wheel drive battle, the Model Y Premium does 5.4 seconds versus 5.9 for the R2, though the R2's 350 horsepower single motor handily beats the base Model Y's 6.8. Now we get to a category where these two are not even close, and no, it's not autonomy. The Model Y has between 6.4 and 6.6 inches of ground clearance, depending on what trim you buy, and the R2 has 9.6 inches of ground clearance. That's almost a 3-inch difference, which is massive, and with no drive shaft, differential, or exhaust hanging underneath, the R2 can use every bit of it. But it's not just ground clearance. The R2 performance comes with genuine off-road drive modes: all-terrain, rally, soft sand, and snow. Note that with the premium trim, you don't get the same off-road modes, but you still get all-terrain and snow mode. In addition, with the premium and performance R2, you get integrated front tow hooks, and with the performance model, you can actually choose optional all-terrain tires at the time of purchase. The author of that Cars.com article that I mentioned at the beginning of this video took the R2 onto trails in Utah and came away calling it, quote, a formidable off-road adventure vehicle, and he wrote, quote, I found rally mode to be the most entertaining, offering impressive levels of damping for higher speed runs on dirt roads. Ultimately, off-road, the R2 does things that the Model Y simply cannot. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about an extremely important comparison, and that's autonomous features. Every Model Y ships with Tesla's AI-4 computer and 8 cameras. You can add full self-driving supervised for $99 a month, subscription only, since Tesla killed the one-time purchase option back in February. With FSD Supervised active, the Model Y handles city streets, traffic lights, stop signs, turns, and lane changes, and it will drive you from point A to point B today with remarkably little input. Now, it is still technically a level 2 system, and supervised is in the name for a real reason because the driver must be attentive and pay attention to the road and be ready to take over at any time, but the capability of Tesla's FSD Supervised is real. Now Rivian. This is where things get really interesting. Rivian software is called Autonomy Plus, and the pricing seems pretty fair. $49.99 a month, about half Tesla's price, or you can purchase the software for a one-time purchase of $2,500, which of course is an option that Tesla doesn't even offer anymore. Every new R2 comes with a 60-day free trial of Autonomy Plus, and launch edition buyers get Autonomy Plus free for the life of the vehicle. Every R2 on every trim will ship with the full Rivian Autonomy platform hardware. Notice the difference in philosophy immediately. Tesla is cameras only, no radar, no LiDAR. Rivian is going multimodal, cameras and radar today, and in addition, LiDAR is coming to the R2. Starting with vehicles built around late 2026 into early 2027, the R2 is supposed to get Rivian's Gen 3 autonomy hardware. This will include the new in-house designed Rivian autonomy processor called RAP1, delivering a large boost in compute, and this will power the third generation autonomy computer named ACM3. Plus, they're going to add a long-range LiDAR sensor integrated cleanly into the roofline, no Waymo-styled turret on the roof. In addition, I want to stop here and mention something extremely important. This is something that you don't want to miss. If you're considering buying one of these early R2s, those have the Generation 2 Rivian autonomy hardware, whereas they're going to be switching over to Generation 3 in the coming near future. And for these early R2s, there is no retrofit path for the LiDAR or the new compute, so do keep that in mind when you're purchasing your vehicle. So what does each actually do today? The R2's flagship feature is universal hands-free, true hands-off driving on 3.5 million miles of mapped roads across the US and Canada. And from what I can tell, this feature not only works on highways, but basically any road with clearly painted lane lines. In addition, with the R2, you can make lane changes on command with co-steer. But, and this is the critical caveat that you need to pay attention to, today, Autonomy Plus does not recognize traffic lights or stop signs. So in real-world capability, Autonomy Plus today is roughly where Tesla was several years ago. If you're scoring with what ships today, Tesla clearly wins in this category and it's not even close. However, based on my research, here is an estimated roadmap for future improvements. Coming soon, they plan to add traffic light and stop sign handling, automatic on and off ramps on the highway, and auto park. This is targeted for an over-the-air software update somewhere around the third quarter of this year or so. Then comes the big one, point-to-point driving, where you enter an address into the R2's system and it drives the whole route hands-free. Surface streets and highways included, and initial rollout is targeted for late this year with a wider release in the first half of 2027. After that, eyes-off driving, level 3, with a future end goal of getting to level 4 in 2028. Okay, in summary, is it time to trade in your Tesla? Well, overall, I believe the Model Y is still a better vehicle. Yes, there are some places where the Rivian R2 shines, and it really is a great vehicle, and I'd love to own the R2, but is it overall a better vehicle than the Model Y? In my opinion, no. With that being said, though, ultimately the decision is yours. Do let me know down in the comments section below, are you on Team Model Y or Team R2? And if you currently own a Tesla, is the R2 actually tempting enough to make you switch? If you did enjoy this comparison, please consider clicking that like button and subscribing so you'll know when future content comes out. I'd also like to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Kessid Chicago. Don't forget to go over to ccraffle.com to get your tickets for a chance to win a brand new top-of-the-line EV. I'll put the discount codes and that link in the video description below. And in addition, I'd like to say thank you to all of those of you who support me through Patreon. Your support makes a big difference and helps make these videos possible. If you'd like to find out more about how you can support my work through Patreon, I will put a link in the video description. Thank you so much.